Hey everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It's 4:09 on June 17th, 2013, and we're going to take a look at the S&P chart using some time-honored techniques to try to make sense out of them and understand what's going on. Before we do that, I need to remind you that the website and the video are for educational purposes only, and nothing stated at the site or in the video is intended to be used as investment advice. I can draw lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research and make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I am not a licensed financial professional. I'm just a guy who draws lines on charts. And by the way, I did a video earlier today that has absolutely nothing to do with the stock market, but I wanted to document something. I have what's called white coat syndrome, and what that means is whenever a doctor or a nurse or a medical professional takes my blood pressure, it's real high. But whenever I take it in my own home, it's perfectly normal. So I did a little documentation of my experience today meeting with one of these people that comes into your home to run a few little tests before you can be issued life insurance. So anyway, that aside, that explains that. Yes, that was me. It's not somebody who's hijacked my YouTube account and is going to start doing weird, strange videos about blood pressure. It's the only one I'm going to do, unless I figure out how to solve the problem. But anyway, basically today, we came into this day looking at a small little descending pattern here with the idea that we could be looking at a bull flag, and we would know that if we get a breakout. Well, we not only did we get a breakout, we basically got a gap. And this little bull flag played out as a bull flag. Instead of us coming up to this level again around 1630 and finding resistance and heading back down to under 1620, we jumped up well over that line and instead came back down later in the day to find at least a little bit of support at 1630, and I would classify that support late in the day as gap support. And again, gaps don't have to fill, they often do. And when they do, you often get a reversal at the point at which they fill. We've talked about that many times. I won't bore you with why that has a tendency to happen, but it does. Now here's the question for us. We've been looking at a pattern or at a candidate for a pattern, with this being the lower support line and this being the resistance line at roughly the high 1640s to 1650. Now, is this a top that we saw today, and is this line right? So really we've got a little bit of thinking to do here, and I'm going to do this. I am going to move this line just to be sort of averaging these tops. So we hit it here, we gap, not gap, but we get over it just a little bit here, and then we tag it again here. Let's kind of keep this in that position, because I don't know at this point whether this was a solid enough tag for us to really justify saying this is our short-term top, or whether we might come back and hit it again in a more solid fashion around the 1650 level. But at any rate, we are still looking at this as being a trigger line for an upwards move that should take the S&P to just under 1700, or we're looking to the breakdown of this line as a signal that we will be going down into the mid 1500s. And where exactly is slightly ambiguous, because we had been using this horizontal line kind of as our trigger, that 1598 support, which I still think is important. You can see we came down and hit that pretty good earlier in June that bounced there for a number of reasons. So if we come down and take out this green line, then we have to decide whether or not we're going to also see some additional downside based upon taking out this line too. Because if we take out the green line, we would be looking at a minimum target, depending on when it happens, of roughly, call it 1572. Again, I'd mentioned before that I would be looking for a move down to about 1550, 1540. But if this line defines our pattern as opposed to this line, then where we would experience that breakdown to the downside would be somewhere along this line, not this line. So you see, it's not always cut and dried. It's not always super easy. But right now, I am still very open to the idea that we are reversing here and that this pattern leads us up to a new high. But we will not know that, and we never know that until we break the boundary that has been producing resistance. Right now, that line is roughly somewhere between 1647 and 1650. It's not a perfect line, but it's about here. And the line of support is roughly in the high 16 teens for tomorrow, and slowly begins to work its way up into the low 1620s by later in the week. So guys, I think the deal is we watch this pattern right here and we see which way this is going to go, because it's going to be a decent move, not a huge move, but it could be a decent move out of this consolidation range. So I think that's probably about really all I can say. We powered up out of this descending red channel. At the same time, we powered up again out of this descending blue channel that is larger. We formed this little flag, we broke up, and now we've experienced a little pullback where it looks like we found some gap support later in the day. I would look, excuse me, I would look for this line to be support. If we were to have a really rocky start to the day tomorrow, then I would look to this line to give some support. I would also look to this green line to give the market a good place to bounce. But that's really all I've got for today. Support, resistance, and once again, we find ourselves in the situation where any line that is above where the S&P is currently trading should be considered resistance, and any line that is below where the S&P is trading should be considered support. So we are a little bit closer here to resistance than to support. So the odds would seem to favor that that the next 2 days will likely have a downward bias. But let's see if that holds out as being true, and that's based upon this resistance line up here and how close we are to it. So guys, there's your video for June 17th, 2013. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch it, and thank you for your support. And I'll try not to do any more videos on medical stuff. I just had to do that because I had incontrovertible proof with my own experience of this white coat syndrome, and I just thought I'd put it out there to let people know this isn't make-believe. So guys, thanks for watching. Take care.